Now, it's been said before that there are two reasons to go to forum sites. One is to ask for advice, and the other is to give advice. We've previously mentioned some of the techniques for asking for advice. Now we're going to review the benefits of giving advice. As there's two types of people that go to forums, there's two types of lurkers, or people who hang around forums reading the daily information as it comes in. The first type we've talked about previously, which is the person who is looking for answers to the information. The second type of lurker is the person who is like a hawk or an eagle, waiting for that person who poses a question that they have a specific and thought-provoking answer. You might ask why real estate agents especially would want to answer both other agents as well as questions from the public. The answer is to establish themselves as the expert of choice. As mentioned in our last section, agents and or the public should go to the forums to type in questions that they'd like to get answered. By having a particular agent continually answer several questions, it helps establish them as the agent of choice or the expert in the field. Thus, you can see that this practice can be both helpful to both agent and public alike. Now let's take a look at how to answer a person's question in a forum format. Here are some guidelines. Number one, always find the most poignant part of the question and copy it into your answer as the first line in quotes around it. This indicates what part of the message you're replying. Number two, write a thoughtful and concise response to the question. Oftentimes, using a hypertext link to another source is also helpful in your response. Number three, one of the most important things that you can do is to make sure that in the salutation of your response, you include your name, email address, unless you have security concerns, and most of all, your website address. This way, you'll get more traffic and create link backs to your website. Now, first of all, make sure that the person who is talking to you is actually soliciting advice. He or she may just want you to listen and be a good friend, seeking instead understanding, empathy, and compassion. Don't assume that everyone wants advice. You may have insight into the problems, but you really need to listen attentively to the person to first get the information they're asking before you can answer. It's a great honor to be asked for advice, but it's also a big responsibility. Good advice can help people make sound decisions or find the right path in life, while bad advice can have disastrous consequences. Fortunately, with a little forethought, you can weed out the good from the bad. Listen to the person asking you for advice. Every situation is unique, so never assume you know all you need to know about a problem. Listen carefully to the person who wants advice and learn as much as possible about the situation. If you need clarification, ask questions. Being an active listener will not only help you give good advice, it will also increase the chances that the person will take your advice. Put yourself in the advisee's shoes. Try to imagine yourself in the other person's situation. If you've been in a similar situation, think about what you learned, but don't rely solely on your experiences to give advice. Imagine that you're giving advice based upon unique circumstances that the other person is facing. Think about the consequences of taking your advice. While you're at it, think about the consequences of not taking your advice. If there's no significant difference between the results of those two scenarios, your advice might not be bad, but it's not useful either. Ditto if the action you advise is impossible. If you can envision the path you suggest leading to a worse result than an alternative path would, your advice probably is bad. Take your time. When possible, think long and hard about all the possible courses of action and consider the pros and cons, or the benefits and costs of each. This is especially important for more complex problems. Think about both the short and long-term consequences of your advice. Very important decisions are usually very important because of their long-term effects. Think as far down the road as possible. Empathize. Many matters require sensitivity and thoughtfulness. If you really try to put yourself in the other person's shoes, empathy will probably develop naturally. Even so, be very careful about how you word your advice and be sensitive to the other person's feelings and emotional state. Giving advice is more than a logical exercise. It usually involves helping a person sort through conflicting emotions as well as conflicting choices. Brainstorm with the person. Sometimes there's no clear-cut right answer to a problem. In this case, try to help the person mull over all the alternatives so that he or she can reach a conclusion together with you or on their own. Even for very simple questions, it can be beneficial to help the person develop his or her own device. Even for very simple questions, it can be very beneficial to help the person develop his or her own advice, if only for the reason that he or she is more likely to take it. Be honest. If your advised course of action has potential drawbacks, tell the person about them. If you don't really feel qualified or knowledgeable enough about something to give advice on it, be honest about this fact as well. Your goal should not be to blindly lead the person, but rather to help him or her make a good decision. So don't act like a salesman. Set a good example. If you advise one thing, but do the opposite, your advice will be seen as phony and hypocritical. If you do as you say, however, people will be more likely to respect your advice. Understand the person may not take your advice. Just because someone asks for your advice, they're not obligated to take it. Realize that the other person almost always knows more about their particular situation and desires than you do. So, you can never be sure that your advice is really the best for them. Understand that people will sometimes ask advice just in order to bounce ideas off you. And don't be surprised if a person rejects even good advice and decides to make his or her own mistake. Live with it and let the person live with his or her own decision. I want you to succeed. Too many people are making too little from their website. Everyone could use some simple suggestions with regards to their SEO and their website to make more money. And yet, many are skeptical of today's claims. That's okay. I'd like to help you to feel better about your internet and your technology tools. Let me give you a helping hand. Let me show you how you can improve your internet marketing presence and your technology and social media tools. Call for a free one-on-one 30-minute consultation appointment. See how you can utilize any part of technology to make dramatic income for you. I'll show you the tips others have made to create compelling internet marketing reality. Call today at 800-277-1316. Really, it's no charge. It's on me. Just set up an appointment today. Get answers to all your questions. So what do you have questions about? Internet promotions? Compelling website design issues? SEO? What's the best domain name and how to find it? What's the best way to get your website to the top of the search engines? Or do you have questions about social media, smartphones, the new QR barcodes, and text advertising? Whatever it is, the time is yours. Here's the chance to get the answers that you may not have thought of before. Don't know the questions to ask? Fine. That's a good place to start as well. Set up an appointment that's convenient for you. Why wait? Remember the Nike slogan. Just do it. We hope that you've taken plenty of notes, and now that you've completed each section, you'll be able to go back and review any areas that you'd like to get further knowledge. For myself, Randy Eager, and Strategic Storm, and the good people at Pareto Institute of Learning, we'd like to thank you for being with us here today. Thank you, and good luck.